Hey Pisces, welcome to October 2019. This month I am pulling from my Mana cards deck because I love Hawaii. Hawaii's a magical place with lots of divine guidance. So, going for it. This month for you, I pulled this card, which is the same as the cover of the deck. Look at that, two little owls. So this is Pueo, and I also another card fell out for you, which seems to go hand in hand. But I think this is your main card, and this card is about guidance, and it's specifically about ancestral guidance. So if you're into calling on your ancestors, now seems to be a good time to do so. The card kind of talked about how, like, your ancestors could take the form of, per se, an owl, hence the owl, or they could also communicate to you in dreams or maybe through songs, kind of like that synchronicity type stuff. So just to be really on the lookout for it and to be connecting with those who came from your past. And this might mean like really like asking like your grandma or grandpa, or if you have like a living relative, maybe about their parents. It might mean that, to kind of like ask about their stories. And then the reason why this card goes hand in hand with this is because Mana is basically energy, life force, and it's also kind of the mastery of skills and the talents and charisma that come from the confidence of having worked at something. And so to connect that with your ancestors, it's like I think about it like each generation is getting a torch from the past generation, right? Like, I'm really into this thing called the heroine's journey, and you might be a dude, in which case this might not fully resonate with you, but basically it was like each generation of women, and this is true for, I'm sure, a lot of marginalized groups, but like each generation kind of had to sacrifice and kind of fight for the rights of the next generation. They didn't get to do all the things that we get to do, and then we have had struggles that future generations, like maybe our kids, won't have to deal with, because it's like each generation is paving the way. So I think really respecting that our journeys are connected to a larger journey within the scope of like our families is really important, and to understand that we're not just doing what we do in our lives for us, but like for a legacy that we're kind of carrying for those who came before us. This card also kind of spoke a little bit about like you might be in danger, or there might just be kind of some pitfalls up ahead, and so to really be mindful of communicating with these kind of ancestral spirits for that safety and protection and the guidance to be able to move and navigate around it. Kind of, these Hawaiian cards are kind of crazy, but that's what we got going for you at the top. Whoops, Two of Pentacles. Whoa, okay, just a bunch fell. Hi, I'm still here. Okay. Ten of Wands. The Emperor in reverse. Four of Cups in reverse. The Sun. Anything else? I like to grab a bunch before I tell the story. Whoops. Let's see. We got the Chariot. I mean, I feel like it makes sense. Too many, I think. Alright, I'll take them. Three of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles in reverse. And then these princesses. I hate the court cards. I've been saying that in all my readings. Alright, let's go for it. So, the Emperor in reverse. I was talking about this with Aquarius too. But I feel like the Emperor, and also with this Ten of Wands, it's like burdened, right? am burdened by what? Burdened by the patriarchy. I mean, all of us are, even men are. Men aren't allowed to feel their feelings, right? That's shitty. And that's a burden, to not be able to express yourself, to not be able to be free to be all the parts of yourself. And then, women, obviously, it's just, anyway. But as I was talking about with our ancestors, like, the burdens each generation has had to carry to make room for the next, to have a little bit more. Kind of like your grandma. I mean, I don't know you or your family, but it's quite likely that your grandma or whatever didn't get to go to college, and maybe your mom did. Maybe you're the first in your family to go to college type thing. And not that college by any means is like the end all be all of life and success, but it's just kind of, I'm just saying what opportunities were available to each generation, or, our past generations were maybe in survival mode, and now maybe we're in like chasing our dreams mode. And so it's like the Emperor to me is masculine power, but it's in reverse, and that's because masculine power in the world at large has been in reverse. It's been, I mean, I don't need to fucking explain it to you. You get it. So I think with the Pueo card, and Pueo, I might be pronouncing these wrong, and if I am, I apologize. I'm learning as I go. So anyway, I think it's like, I guess the message here is whatever you're carrying, whatever feels super heavy, whatever feels super overwhelming and draining, know that part of the reason why you're in the situation you're in that feels so heavy and so overwhelming is because this is a long story that's been going on for a long time, and you're not just carrying your shit, you're carrying your family's shit. Ancestral wounds might be kind of in play, or ancestral dreams, right? Like, kind of, as I was saying before, the legacy. That maybe there's pressure on you, this girl carrying all this shit on her back, because you're kind of up against these forces that are much bigger than you. They go way back. And that also, there's forces in the world that are making the journey difficult. And so when this card was kind of talking about danger, because there was a little bit of a mention of danger in my book that I have, this thing, it's like, I mean, maybe, because when it gets too overwhelming and too burdensome, I think we can, like, break down and just, like, not have the ability or the will to go on sometimes. And we can be like, what is this all for? Is this ever going to work out? Am I ever going to be in a situation where I'm not carrying all this shit on my back? And am I ever going to be in a situation where I'm not being controlled by this, like, shitty emperor dude? And yes, but I think that the way to get there is really to be soul-searching. I know that this might seem silly, but whatever patterns are carrying you along this route have, it's worthwhile to take the time to understand what you've inherited. Because maybe even the dreams that you think you have aren't even fully yours. They're kind of subconsciously passed down to you as kind of like inheriting the family business, so to speak. And your ancestors, really, this owl figure, because the book even talked about, like, sometimes with our ancestors we can kind of, like, get in disagreements and stuff and not be totally on the same page. But they were like, the ties of family are hard to break. So it's not even that you need to, like, because if your ancestors are alive, maybe there's still disagreements and you're just kind of like, the pleasing them and the trying to make them happy and the trying to, like, carry on the family legacy feels like too much. Pisces, like, this is what I'm trying to say to you, is that this month we kind of need to be figuring out how to move forward. It's hard to move forward, and there is this is Cayman upright, so it sounds like you will be moving forward, but it's hard to be moving forward sometimes when we're just repeating old patterns, or when we're not even sure why we do what we do, or we're doing what we do out of routine or habit, or when we're doing it kind of out of a need unconsciously to please this emperor or to like get approval from this guy. But this guy in reverse, it's like this is no longer really relevant to our journeys. We're kind of going somewhere new, like it's like a new frontier that I think a lot of us are embarking on, at least if we're watching, whoever's watching my readings. We're all kind of like going on a new frontier of into the unknown. And it doesn't involve this guy anymore, but he's been such a big figure in our lives that we kind of have to figure out how to really fully let this go. This meaning the patriarchy, or like the pleasing, or the like trying to get the worldly success of conventional capitalist standards. I'm always railing against capitalism these days. What else? Two of Pentacles. Yeah. I think we're kind of like trying to find balance, but not just balance between how we manage our lives, but I think balance in terms of our own psychological needs, who we really are, what's true for us, independent of other people's expectations of us, and how to simultaneously understand the past on a deeper level and honor the past while, so it's like, if I understand why my family acts the way they do and where they're coming from and why they want what they want for me, and instead of just kind of doing some unconscious people-pleasing thing, I can see the patterns, I can see maybe what my family's legacy is really about. So for example, maybe our families think, oh, our legacy is about, because like our families in the past struggling so much, they're about our legacies are about becoming the people in power. But maybe we're understanding power, the dynamics of power even in of itself are changing. We're no longer operating in a paradigm of like hierarchies, or that's not what is in our hearts. So kind of just to say, or to bring it back to college, right? If our family's dream for us was to go to college, but our dream is to start a farm off the grid. Oh my god, I'm just kidding, I don't know. Okay, go roll with me here. These are weird examples. Certainly not your reality. Our family's dream was for us to like go to college, to like go to law school, to become a lawyer. But what they really wanted for us was stability, and then like the peace and security that comes with having financial income. But for us to achieve peace, happiness, and stability, for us that means having a farm, a sustainable farm that like we are tending to every day, and we're growing our own food. So there's still stability, there's still peace and happiness. Ultimately, that was what our ancestors wanted for us, was just those things, but for them, how they thought the means of getting there. So I think I'm just trying to say, like, I think this month is about reconciling and balancing other people's expectations of you and what they want for you, and then what's in your heart, and to know that even if other people don't fully understand why you're on the path you're on, that you're okay. Like I'm in an acting class, and this girl in the acting class was like asking a professional actress, like, should I have a backup plan? And then the woman was like, well, I don't have a backup plan. This is what I do. And she's like, your parents, they want you to have a backup plan because they want you to have an income. They want you to have money. And that's all they want for you, is just to not struggle. They don't want you to be, starving, and that's their fear for you. But she's like, don't operate on their fear, and don't operate on their misunderstanding of your path. Just know that what they want really is the best for you, and that you have to have the faith in yourself to go for what you want. And then when you succeed and prove yourself to your parents, they're going to kind of lay off and just be happy for you. They're not trying to control you, they're just trying to protect you. But don't let their fear become something that blocks you from this abundance. Because this came in reverse, and I do think that there is a little bit of an element of us like being a little removed from, and the Pentacles, I don't think this is necessarily just about money or business or finances. Pentacles are kind of also just about like the magic we put into the world, like the manifestations, what we're building. This could be about community, our connections with others, the impacts we're making. And the Ten of Pentacles is the abundance. So I think that, like, the ultimate abundance. And so I think this is kind of like the fulfillment of our wildest dreams, our destiny, our life purpose, like why we're here on earth. And I think this month we're just feeling, again, like maybe that's not possible. Like maybe we have a feeling of needing to give up. I guess that's just sort of coming through a little bit. But we are going to move forward. So it's like, again, I just think it's about reconciling and kind of sorting out what the voices in your head, like who are the voices in your head, right? Is it really you? Is that really your intuition telling you that this isn't real? Or is it just kind of that weird conditioning? And to bring it back to your ancestors, I think that your ancestors who've like passed on and are like in other realms, I mean, I'm sure because they're in like some other dimension, they can see things more clearly. And if they have your best interests at heart, they're capable of communicating with you somehow. So it's worthwhile to listen to the guidance you get. I'm not saying don't listen to any guidance. I'm just saying I think you have to understand what the guidance you're receiving is, where it's coming from, and what is helpful to you and what is not helpful to you in terms of moving forward, because it is hard to move forward when we're so confused and when we're not really just truly in alignment with ourselves. And I think this card is about getting in alignment with ourselves, because I think that once we're in alignment with ourselves, we'll know how to deal with all these fucking wands, all the burdens, all that like shit we're carrying. Some of it isn't ours, so we might be able to let it go. Maybe we do give up on some things, but they're the things that we give up on were the things that weren't really meant for us, the things that weren't really supposed to be on our path. It's like the law school. It might be dropping out of law school, and that is a challenge, but if it's not what was truly for the best for you, then, you know, you gotta figure that out. All right. Next part of the reading, Three of Pentacles. I think, again, you might need support. This is about, and I think this is also helpful with like this Ten of Wands. There is just a general overwhelmed feeling and a confusion and a chaos in all this. And I think that, yeah, the biggest message for you is really just to kind of get clear on what your path really is and what was you kind of taking on more than you needed to and getting burdened by it. And also by like old programming or old ideas that are no longer really relevant to us. So, Four of Cups in reverse. This card's a little bit about grief, but also, no, actually it's Five of Cups, more energy. I think this card is more about, like, wistful longing, wishing things were different, because, like, in this deck, it's like this girl is thinking about this pink cup, and wish she had this imaginary pink cup that doesn't really exist when she has these three blue cups, but, like, all she really can focus on is this. And so it's kind of this weird energy between giving up and not giving up. But really what I mean more than that is letting go and knowing what to let go of. And so I think we're kind of having to get to a point where we're like, that pink cup, it wasn't even really that pink cup that I keep going after that eludes me isn't even really in my highest good. It's not really serving me, and it's not going to happen, but it's only not going to happen because it's, like, I'm not going to get that law degree, but I'm not going to get that law degree because my heart's not in it, and I can't bring myself there. I'm not manifesting it into my life because I don't really believe in it. It wasn't really mine. I was doing it to kind of please others or to just be good or, you know? Okay. So I think that we might need help. This might mean telling people what's going on with us. This might mean, like, saying, hey, I need a break. I need support. I need you to know that I'm going through this deep transformation of getting clear on what my life is really about right now. I'm kind of doing this work, and so I need to not have to do it alone. I need to be able to, and even if it, like, let's say it is getting some kind of degree or building a farm, like whatever it was that was like the thing that we actually wanted in our lives, it might mean like, hey, I want to build this new platform for my life that is really kind of what I think my true life's purpose is about. Like, you're discovering your inner sun, your inner light, your inner power, like what's really true for you, where you're gonna shine. But if you're burdened and overwhelmed by all this old stuff and kind of like doing all this like alignment work and balancing it, then yeah, I think you might just need to be telling people what's going on with you. And do keep communicating with your ancestors. As I said earlier in the reading, that might mean talking to, if you have like living grandparents, talking to a living grandparent and being like, hey, what did you go through? And then being like, it's real, thank you for sharing what you went through. This is what I'm going through. And they might listen and support you and understand. And they might not, but I think that this is about still communicating that you're in a place of needing help and that you are just totally burdened. And that you're trying to get this forward movement, but that the forward movement is coming from you getting clear, letting go of what isn't working. I'm repeating myself, but I guess it's just sort of to drill home what this is about. For you to step into your power, you need help, and you need to let go, and you need to kind of understand what is really true about your life, especially now here in October 2019, because we're not living in the past anymore. It's not 1933, it's not 1980, it's not 1970, whatever, the past. It's good to know what the past was, because then we can, maybe that helps us understand October 2019 a little bit better. Oh, that's why this has been coming up for me in October 2019, because in October of 1979, my family was going through this, and that's the pattern. And now that I've seen the pattern, I can change it. That's what I'm talking about. I hope this is making sense with you, resonating, etc. And then the last two cards that I pulled were the Princess of Cups and the Princess of Wands. So to me, the Princess of Cups is a little bit about vulnerability, new beginnings. Both of these cards speak to the new beginnings that you're cultivating, and I think the new sense of self. And this is creativity and emotions. So you don't need to have your new empire all built, but when you're going forward, I think you're also learning at the same time. So you're learning more about your emotional state. Maybe you're kind of being gentle with yourself and no longer beating yourself up, because sometimes letting go is super hard and it takes energy in and of itself occasionally to do that work, especially when we've been attached to something for so long. So like moving forward sounds beautiful and great and amazing, but it's so much about kind of making peace with that in honoring yourself, you really are honoring your ancestors. For example, if you were your ancestors' wildest dreams, right? Maybe what kind of unconscious blocks did even your ancestors have, right? Like, consider with the people who came before you, the shit they had to deal with. So maybe where you're really going is so crazy and so beautiful that they wanted it for you the whole time, but they themselves were dealing with kind of like the imposter syndrome of like, can I like, maybe they didn't want to preach to you the full capabilities of what you could become because they didn't want to like lie to you or something. And I think also, again, there's a difference between spirit ancestors who are guiding you through divine messages and living ancestors who've been through some shit. There's kind of a difference because I think that the divine ancestors who've passed on to the other side have probably gained some information and some lessons from having gone through the death process and having investigated their own lives a little bit. Like, they probably went through a judgment moment. So I'm just saying, not to not listen to anyone, but to, and I'm repeating myself, but I'm saying just understand where it's all coming from, why people say what they say, what guidance you can trust to help you avoid pitfalls, and also avoid the pitfalls of maybe limiting beliefs. And so this is, I think, just slow, patient, coming into yourself, your new self. If you're going on this new frontier, you're the princess of your creativity, of your passions, of your emotions, of your heart, what's in your heart. And it's just going to take some courage and strength, but also some patience and vulnerability and kind of like a beginner's mind. Once you've gone through this deep psychological process of kind of understanding what is true in your life and what isn't, adopt a beginner's mind and know that your beginner's mind is what's going to like allow you to move forward, and that it will happen at the pace that it needs to happen at. Whew. Alrighty. I think that's it for your reading. I hope it resonated. If it did, let me know, and if it didn't, sorry, I guess it wasn't your message. And, what else? So, like and subscribe, just because then it makes me happy to get a little more attention. And if you like what I say, then you can tune in again the next time I do it, in November. So I'll see you then. I love you. Bye.